Okay, so good morning from Ghana.
Yes, madam.
Yeah. Trust you are doing
How
okay.
are you?
Okay, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for joining me and finding the time to do this presentation, or let me say Q&A session, for us to have a preview of the destinations that you are offering to our students. So we want to have the recorded version of this video. So I've started a recording. We'll promote this on our social media platforms. So we are going to start with Study in Ukraine. So I know that you are the CEO of Edugain Overseas and you assist international students from Africa and many other places to come and study in Ukraine and in Russia. And your company have offices in both Ukraine and in Russia, but at the moment we are speaking from the Ukraine office. Am I right?
Yes, madam. Perfectly right.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with study in Ukraine. As a company, Dreams Consult, as you already know, my name is Ronnie Lawson and I'm the Director of Student Recruitment here in Ghana. And we have two branches as well, one in Kumasi and then one in Accra. At the moment, I'm speaking from the Kumasi office. And so we have various partners across the globe. However, we do get inquiries for Ukraine and Russia. And I find it easier to work with partners that are already in the country. You know, sometimes dealing directly with the universities, especially in non-English speaking countries, can be very stressful. So finding partners like you who also can communicate in English and already understand the process and the system, it makes our work very easy here in Ghana. Of course, we know that it comes with certain charges, but the charges also brings convenience to our students. So we prefer to give them peace of mind and that convenience if it means that working with you is going to give us that solution. So when it comes to studying Ukraine, especially for medicine, we do get a lot of people asking how the system is and all that when it comes to medical programs. Of course, there are other interests for business and other stuffs as well, engineering as well. However, can you give me like a complete overview of how the Ukrainian system is and the Ukraine education is in general and how enticing it is for international students?
Okay, thank you for your question. It is noted. What I can say that Ukraine is a part of Europe and we follow completely European education system. So we completely follow the Bologna system. Due to this reason, after graduation, student can work in Europe and he can actually go to any country in the world. This is the main advantage. Plus to that, we are much cheaper than any European country since we are just joining the European Union. So here it's a combination of low fee and high quality of education, which attracts a lot of students from all over the world, including European students, because here they can get all the necessary in a very low price. When we are talking about medicine, what is important that all the education is based on practical classes. From the second year, students already join hospitals. They talk with patients, they diagnose patients, they provide the medical treatment, etc. So by the moment of graduation, they can actually already work. They are ready for it. They are not scared. And the universities believe that marks, it is not something which is the most important. They believe that the most important, so there is no any problem regarding marks from the school of the student or serious entrance exams or IELTS, TOEFL, etc. Students simply send their documents and they get admitted within just one day, which is a huge advantage for them. Education is completely in English medium. They don't need to learn another language. They don't need to change their minds. They simply reach the country and join classes from the very beginning. So those are the main plus points, like practical classes, English medium, and easy admission and affordable price, what usually attracts students from all over the world to study in Ukraine.
Fantastic. I do agree with you when it comes to the cost because I've met a Ukrainian student who is back in Ghana and he did confirm that, especially when it comes to the living cost, food, he did mention that $100 can take care of him for the whole month or even more. So I think,
It's
yeah, I heard that from the horse's own mouth from a returned student in Ghana. And he did mention that other places in Europe, though are more popular, at the end of the day, you have to, spend more money living in those cities compared to, studying in Ukraine. You did mention that you are now part of the European Union. However, I'm aware that you are not a Schengen country. Is there any plans that maybe in the next couple of years or something, Ukraine will also become a Schengen country? Because a lot of Ghanaians are very interested in Schengen countries so that they can have that flexibility.
It actually will happen within several years because already first steps towards it are made. For example, for Ukrainians, we don't need Schengen visa to go to Europe. Okay. For those who have temporary residency, they still need to apply for it, but they get it very easy because with Ukrainian visa, it's very easy to get Schengen visa.
Okay.
And now we are in this process of joining the European Union, which should be completed within several years. Once it is done, we will be completely in the Schengen zone.
Oh, okay. So the process is still ongoing. So at the moment, if a student is studying in Ukraine and they want to visit other European countries, they need to apply for another visa, right?
That's correct. Okay. Currently, yes, but within a couple of years, it won't be required for them.
All right, that's good news then. Okay, you did mention that the grades are not very important. However, sometimes people associate grades to the quality or how the system is. So if the grades are not too good and the system is accepting them, it would create an impression that maybe because the education is not quality, that is why they can accept any grade. Is there no cutoff point, or you have a preparatory program that is why you accept any grade?
Actually, it is working out a little bit different way than usual here. Okay. Like school always has a human factor. Some student can get low marks because he's just not in good relationship with the teacher or any other reason. Yeah. So here we accept students with any marks, but the teaching is very strong. So they start teaching from the basics till the most difficult topics. And students supposed to attend every day. In case if student is not attending, he will still have individual classes, etc. So teachers are prepared, even for the students for whom it's difficult to catch information, they have individual classes. Okay. But in case if student after 1 year didn't attend classes, his attendance was very low, in this case, student can be expelled out of the university. Okay. So they accept all the students, train them, and in case if student doesn't want to, he will simply need to leave the university.
That's good to know. So you can come in with poor grades, but it doesn't mean you would come in and relax. You would have to go through a very rigorous system to pick up or be expelled from the university, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So when it comes to English, you did mention all the programs are in English, so people don't need to switch their languages. However, for this professional and practical programs like medicine, nursing, engineering, and things like that, especially for medicine and nursing, where students would have to interact with patients, how, in terms of percentage-wise, in Ukraine, do you think that a lot of people can understand English, or the students will need to learn the language to deal with patients?
You see, patients are mostly people who are not very young, like till 30, almost all people in Ukraine speak English, but patients, it's usually 30 plus. So in this case, students will still need to learn local language. They will have it as a subject inside their curriculum. It's not an exam level, it's not a difficult grammar, it's not any extra cost for that. But they study basic language, medical terminology, some basic reading, just to be able to communicate with patients and understand what is the complaints, what is the treatment, diagnosis, etc. So anyway, they will study it. After first year, usually students can speak on simple topic in Russian language. From the second year, they got fluent.
Okay, very good. All right, so in Ghana, we have WASI students, which is our general high school final certificate exams. However, we do have some students who are studying in international schools, and then they write the international, IGCSE, and then we have the A levels as well. So at this point, with the WASI, the IGs, and then the A level? Because some people after the IGs, which is the O level, they don't continue to write the A levels. Would they be admissible to Ukraine?
Yes, but for students who don't have A level, who has only O level, there is an opportunity to join for 1 year pre-medical department or pre-engineering, depending on which course they're going. This 1 year will be equal to A level for the student in Ukraine. So 1 year after, the student can continue on the course he have chosen, like medicine, engineering, in English language or in Russian, depending on student's decision.
Okay. All right. So do you have any other maybe pre-business, pre-arts, or is just these two, pre-medical and pre-engineering?
Pre-medical, pre-engineering, though something which is the most popular, but for the students who are going for, let's say, journalism or law or economics, there is a foundation course, which
There's
also
a
allows
foundation. Okay. Fantastic.
Yes, for each specialty, there is a certain department. For example, if student from the very beginning decided that he is going to become, let's say, a journalist. So plus to language, he will be studying also basic of literature, basic of history, and some subjects which will be related with the future specialty.
Okay. So the advice is to always double check and be sure before they take on any of these programs, because the pre-engineering, the pre-medical is popular, but however, the other programs, we need to double check and be sure before we go ahead, right?
Anyway, it is allowed. All these programs are allowed, and students, they actually, some groups have classes, let's say you have 3 directions in one university: foundation, pre-engineering, and pre-medical. So students will be attending some classes together. Like for those who are going for journalism, they don't need math. So they are not attending math, but they attend history. So in each university, all the facilities are available. When they are reaching, they are joining the correct group for the students.
Okay, great. All right, so we can find Bachelor of Science programs, Bachelor of Arts programs, basically undergraduate programs in Ukraine. We can find master's program, and we can find PhD programs. Am I right?
Correct.
At all levels. Okay, great. Okay, with all these levels, do we have every program at every level, or with a PhD? You know, PhD is quite different, you know, every country and how it operates. And some countries say that just put in the application and then they will pair you with a supervisor. However, in Ukraine, how does the process work? We know bachelor's and master's is quite straightforward. And then once the program is available, you'll be able to access. Can you give us a little bit of insight with a PhD, because it's very popular over here?
About PhD, first of all, before PhD, student must join preparatory department of foundation course. It is very important because PhD is also mostly connected with writing of thesis and with some practical classes. In case if student is going for PhD and preparing to stay in Ukraine and study here locally, he can do so. In case if he has some connection in the home country where he can do their practice while studying in Ukraine, they can also make the same thing. So students will need to reach to the country, get enrolled for the course. Then he will be appointed with a mentor. They will make a personal schedule, curriculum. They will get all the study materials. And after it, student can decide whether he would like to stay in Ukraine or go to the homeland to proceed. All this education process is completely controlled by the mentor. And it can be completed when students have completed the thesis work. There is a minimal direction. For example, if you are talking about medical PhD, non-surgical course will be 4 years, surgical 3 years. This is the minimum number of years, which is considered to be enough to learn the subject where they're going to work in future. But in case in many countries, they accept another number of years. Like, for example, in America, it has to be 5. So student can stay and continue for 5 years in Ukraine. It's all very, let's say, it can be appointed and made according to the desires of the student. And everything is perfectly discussed with the mentor. So it's not also a straightforward program, but it's also very popular among foreign students since they can get everything adjusted to the student.
Okay, all right. So just as you said, it's not very straightforward. So we have 2 options. The students can either do the research in Ukraine or do it in their home country. That's the first step. Now, you did mention that there's a preparatory course or a foundation course, which is compulsory for whatever they decide, whether they want to stay in Ukraine or stay in Ghana or wherever to do the program. Now, do you apply for that preparatory course first, or you make your intention known from day one that I want to do PhD in engineering, and then that way you come and do it? It's a 1-year preparatory program, am I right?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay,
so student is saying that he wants to do for PhD, let's say engineering, okay? So automatically first he will start from the preparatory department.
Okay. We are going to go into the costs later. So can you say from your years of experience, how much guarantee can you give that after the preparatory program is guaranteed that the student who wants the PhD is definitely going to progress into the area that they want to do their research in? Have you had issues where somebody had to fail and leave the country?
No, there are no such issues because the student is dedicated from the very beginning, and in case if student is actually leaving their homeland and traveling to another country to study, they are dedicated.
Okay, great.
So while they are studying, even during the preparatory department, they already can start talking with mentors, they still communicate with teachers at the same university, etc. So they can even make the arrangements in advance. There is no problem like that because everything is
Okay. So now let's go into the costs. So for bachelors, for instance, can you give me like a range, maybe from a minimum of $1,000 to about a maximum of this, that you can study in Ukraine? For masters, for PhD, this is the range, and then that way people can have an idea what to budget for.
It depends from university to university, of course. In the cheapest, it is in Kyiv International European University. Their tuition fee for English medium starts from 2,500 per year. It's all in English. It's mostly economics, IT, engineering, etc. They have all these courses. Other universities, it is usually 3,000, 3,500 for the tuition. For masters, we are starting from $3,000 till $5,000, depending on the university. Medicine, which is the most popular among foreign students, in the cheapest university, it is $4,000, and then it goes till $5,000-6,000 per year.
And for PhD as well, what's the range?
PhD mostly 4,000, 4,500.
4,000. Fantastic. Great. There's also a very important misconception that some students say you can work, some say you can't. So it's very confusing. I want to clear this once and for all. I want to know if it is by law that students can work, but they are doing it because the law is not strict or it's not allowed. What's the real situation in Ukraine?
Okay, on basic study visa, usually it is not allowed to work, but all our students do work part-time, non-officially. It won't be some serious job because when they reach into another country, starting from the fact that they don't know local language. So to find some serious job without language is pretty difficult. A lot of students, they work in English-speaking clubs, they work in gyms, they work in restaurants, in these directions. Those students who are in IT field, it's the simplest because IT accepts without knowledge of local language, they simply accept students to work there. For medical students, from the third year, they are allowed, as a part of their studying, they are allowed to work part-time as nurses or paramedics at the hospitals where they are doing practical classes. So anyway, there is opportunity for them to get enrolled in some jobs, and most of them are doing it. But they shouldn't rely on very high salary because even like living costs in Ukraine is very low, and salaries will be at the same level for this let's say not professional jobs. So it will be okay for them to fit into their budget to cover their living costs, but not to cover their tuitions.
Fantastic. Yeah, because that was why I asked that question. I actually know someone who had to return from Ukraine because he went there with a mindset to work and then take care of his studies, but it didn't work out that way. So it's good that you have to clarify this, that people must be prepared financially So these employers that employ these students, you don't think that they can get in trouble with the law? There's no problem. I just want to make
No,
sure that my
here
students
here nobody's actually checking it.
okay.
A lot of students, they work non-officially part-time because even for employee, like a person who is given job,
Yeah.
he needs to pay taxes for each
Okay.
employer.
Okay. All right.
And in this way, they don't need to pay taxes. So they also prefer to accept
Okay.
people work non-officially.
Okay.
So like to find a job, it's easy. Just they
Yeah.
need to understand that it won't be a salary, which is huge, for
I
example,
understand.
and they need to be ready to combine work and studying, because studying is very serious.
Yes.
Attending of classes should be 100%. And if student is taking some, I don't know, difficult job where he should be there every day for 8
Yeah.
hours, he will simply not manage.
Yeah, I agree with you because I spoke to two medical students in Ukraine. I think the school is called Bogomolet Medical University, and they did tell me that it's impossible to work as a medical student because their classes are very intense, and there's no way they could find the time to work. So for them, their parents was actively taking care of them. So that's a very good point to note. So I think with everything that is said, the final thing is mainly about opportunities for students to stay back. Usually, what is the reality? What really goes on? Do people have the chances to stay, or they usually go back home? And in terms of the laws in the country, does it permit that or not?
It is permitted, and how it works. When student is graduating from the university, his residency will be valid for 3 more months.
Yeah.
During these 3 months, students have opportunity to find a job. If to pay attention that the last year is always internship, they can remain working at the same place where they were doing their practice.
Okay.
In case if student doesn't want, let's say, to stay at the same city, he wants to shift to another city, there is an opportunity to extend residency for 1 more year.
Yeah.
So student will have 1 year to look for a job. When he finds a job, he is applying for a work permit.
Yeah.
Work permit will be given for 1 year, and he can extend it for 3 years in a row.
Okay.
After 3 years, he can already apply for the residency.
Okay.
So in this case, if student have studied for medicine, like say 6 years, he has extended for 1 year, then 3 years again. After that, it is in total already 9 years.
Yeah.
So with this period of time, he can actually apply for permanent residency in the country and remain working there and living here.
Okay.
Here is difference between actually Ukraine and Russia. In Ukraine, it's very simple to stay back.
Okay. All right. Great. So we are on that note, we are going to move straight into study in Russia. I think most of the questions are very similar concerning the programs and then the price ranges and the same concerns working whilst there, whether the law permits it and things like that. So let's move straight into study in Russia. First of all, geographically, are they a bordered country like is Ukraine and Russia, sharing borders with each other? So in terms of movement, is it easy?
It is bordered countries.
Yeah, is it very easy for
it's bordered, but
is it very
there are
easy for
different
students to visit? If you are Ukraine, is it very easy to visit Russia and then vice versa?
No,
Okay.
Those are two different countries, and each country has individual visa.
Okay.
So students supposed to choose from the very beginning which country he prefers, because there's a completely different migration process in each of them.
Okay.
Like a tourist, of course, students can apply for tourist visa and visit the country, but it's not like he can actually walk one side and back for 1 day. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Okay. So before we continue the Russia, I'm aware that Ukraine visa is not issued in Ghana. However, you can do your submission of documents and your biometrics at the VFS office, right? So it's become very easy. Students don't need to travel to another country. Am I right?
Yes, you're perfectly right. He's going to VFS office, submits document from VFS. They courier it to Ukrainian embassy in Senegal, Nigeria.
Okay.
There they evaluate document, put visa, and courier it back to Ghana, where student can pick it up in VFS. When he's picking it up, actually he gets all the information via email mails from VFS, from the embassy, the documents are received, submitted, then it's processed and sent back. All of these updates will student be getting via email.
Fantastic. So back to Russia, for that one, it's being done in Ghana, right? The visa process.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Russia, they don't need even to visit the VFS. They go directly to Russian embassy.
Yeah.
Russian visa is also very simple. There is no interview, nothing like that. They simply submit documents. Within 1 week, it will be express visa. Within 2 weeks, ordinary visa. They pick it up and they can travel.
So between the two countries, the process for Russian is
regarding
quite
Russia,
simple.
what I can underline.
So the process for Russia is more simple than...
process is simple, but there are some different, usually ready within 5 to 7 working days.
Okay.
Russian invitation visa takes more than months to receive.
Okay.
So here is a plus point towards Ukraine because it's just faster.
Okay.
One more thing, Ukrainian invitation letter is valid for 6 months. Okay. So students, let's say there are 2 intakes in Ukraine. First intake is September intake, when students can reach classes within September, October. And second intake is January, February. So when student receives invitation letter, let's say now in September, he can use it either for this intake or for next intake because it still will be valid. In case of Russian universities, invitation is valid just for 30 days. And students supposed to reach, like, he received an invitation letter, he should go immediately to the embassy, apply for visa, and after it, he should immediately travel to the country. So in Ukraine, it is a little bit easier because they have time to prepare, they have time to think, and they decide by themselves which intake they prefer. Education system, Russia, Ukraine is approximately same because Russia is also following Bologna education system, following all the European standards, etc. So from the point of view of the level of education here, both countries are equal. Practical classes, everything will be the same.
Okay. Level of English, would you say a lot of Russians speak English? You know, sometimes people have this mindset that the Russians are, you know, racist and all that. But I mean, you are in the system, and then you'll be able to tell how are the African students coping and how are things in reality.
Okay, so students, they are usually coming to the cities which are already full of foreigners. We are not enrolling students to small cities where nobody have ever seen foreigner. So in Moscow, in all the big cities, people are very much adjusted. Plus, to us, there is, like, when foreign person is coming to the country, it's something interesting because you can explore a new culture, you can practice your English, you can find something new. So actually, I would say that Russian people, Ukrainian people, they're mostly friendly towards foreigners. And this is a lot of friendship like that. If you will check just the Facebook accounts or Instagram accounts of our students, there are always photos with locals where they get in friends very fast. So racism doesn't actually exist in big cities.
Okay. So the idea is that you place the students in cities that are already, mixed in terms of diversity. There are other, citizens around, so it's very easy for the students to feel at home and all that. So I think that's a very good point. So sometimes people want to consider the cost and go to, smaller cities and cheaper cities, but it's always important to think about the cultural diversity as well. You know, like being in Kyiv in Ukraine and then Moscow in Russia, I think it may be more expensive, but at least the students will feel at home and meet other foreigners on a daily basis. So I think that's a very good point. When it comes to the price, would you say that in terms of tuition cost, Russia is more expensive or they are all at par?
Russia is slightly more expensive, not much, but if we are talking about Moscow and St. Petersburg, those are two biggest cities in Russia, and they are very expensive. They are 2 times more expensive than any other city in Russia.
Okay.
For example, living cost in, let's say, Makhachkala, where we have University of Pskov or Kazan, will be around $250, $300 per month. Then in Moscow, it's minimum 500 in a very modest life.
Okay.
So here we also need to take care of budget of the student, because even tuitions in Moscow for medicine starts from $8,000.
Wow.
In any other city, it is 4,000, maximum $5,000.
Okay. Okay.
So here we take care of budget of the student, and this way we are looking which option he would prefer. Anyway, even if it's Pskov, not Moscow, but still Pskov, it's adjusted to foreign students.
Yeah.
Where there are more than 1 million citizens, there are always a lot of foreign people who are living there.
Yeah.
Students will be there safe, secure, and quiet, and even it is better than Moscow, as per my opinion, because Moscow is huge. There is always a traffic. Students are always in the crowd. They need to go from hostel to the university.
Yeah.
Even if it's closed, they need to go to hospitals for practical classes around the city. So they take hours to reach from one hospital to another. In other cities like Pskov, Makhachkala, etc., everything is closed. So they are not spending any unnecessary time into the transportation. They spend less money, and they still live in a very developed, in a modern city.
Okay.
And usually students prefer to go this way. Regarding the price in Ukraine, by the way, in Ukraine there is no difference in living cost between, let's say, Kiev and Odessa or any other city.
Okay.
There in Ukraine, all the prices in each city is the same. So here I strongly advise students to pay attention to big cities like Kiev, like Odessa, like Kharkiv, etc., where cities are mostly the maximum developed, where they have maximum number of universities, maximum number of foreign students.
Yeah.
Plus with that, they're still cheap.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of staying back after school, or let's say working in school, whilst in school, is it similar to Ukraine, or they also have a different type of law for students who want to work whilst in school and then stay back after school?
Ukraine will be simply easier.
Okay.
In Russia, they actually can check what type of visa student has. They can check whether student have worked or not. Jobs will be exactly the same. It still will be waiters. It still will be speakers in English-speaking clubs, etc. But just as per my opinion, it's much simpler to find a job in Ukraine than in Russia.
Okay. Okay. What about staying back after school? Do they have a period to do internships? Like you said, in Ukraine, they have about 3 months and all that. What's the situation in Russia?
These 3 months they also will have. After graduation, they will have a time, but there is no opportunity to extend it for 1 more year, like in Ukraine.
Okay, okay.
So there they will need to be more fast, and in case if they, for example, do internship in the university, in the hospital, and they perform good, it's like 70%, the hospital itself will offer a student to stay and work there.
Okay.
But in case if student doesn't perform well, they will not remain him. They will advise him to go and look for a place in another city or in another country.
Yeah. Okay. So I think overall, I've gotten a general overview, and I know that the students will now get a clarity and know exactly what they are going for. Basically, the PhD option that we talked about in Ukraine, is it similar to Russia as well? Do they also have a foundation that you need to go through? It's a similar process.
It's the same. They're following the same education system.
Okay. All right. I think that's about it. As I said earlier, we'll put this into a promotional form and then promote it on our social media platforms. That way, students get the clarity from the source. It becomes very easy for them to make an informed decision, because sometimes people come with, I know I can get a school in Ukraine for $1,000 or even less. And sometimes you are wondering which institutions are these, or what are they talking about? Because what we have is from 2000 or 2005. So should we be very concerned for these students that maybe they are going somewhere they have no idea of? Should we discourage people from going to remote cities just because of cost?
Oh, madam, one more thing I forgot to mention. This year, there is one university in Ukraine which is opening the online studies for students who are scared to travel during the pandemic.
Okay.
So in case if for some reason student doesn't want to join the university on campus, at the same university they can study online. In this case, it's also pretty simple. They send scanned copies of their documents. They get the invoice from the university to pay tuition fee. They cover the tuition fee to the university account, and they get an access to all the library of the university. They will have a personal office on the university website where they will have schedule, curriculum, all the textbooks, study materials, lecturers will be there. Plus, they will have this live lectures with teachers. They will have Zoom meetings with professors for practical knowledge, where there will be direct interaction between student and teacher. So within 1 year, they will get all this same actually knowledge, which they would be getting when they study in the university, because first year it's mostly theory. It's mostly anatomy, histology, and other subjects which you actually can study online. After 1 year, when the pandemic will be completely managed, they can join the university on campus. Or let's say they got enrolled for the online course, they have studied for 3 months, and then they have decided, okay, pandemic is over, everything is quiet, I'm ready to fly. He can fly after 3 months and join studies on campus. So for this particular university, it is an opportunity for students not to lose any time, and there is no risk with visa, nothing like that, because they already got enrolled with the university.
Okay, is it in Ukraine or in Russia?
It is in Ukraine, in Kiev,
okay, all right.
in capital.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so thank you very much. As I was saying, should we be concerned for students who are looking for very low, tuition costs, especially in remote places in both Russia and Ukraine? Should we discourage them and say, look, it's better to be in a city where at least the student population is higher, because we don't want you to feel like you are alone in a city somewhere, all because of the cost that is involved? What do you think?
When the price is very low, it means that something is wrong there. Always on the experience. I can't tell because like among those universities we are working, or among those universities with which we are familiar, prices always starting from, for medicine, it's minimum 4,000. Less than 4,000, not even one university will teach in English. Then it means that something is hidden there. Either student will come and they will enroll him into the preparatory department instead of medicine. Or they will charge extra for, I don't know, let's say exams or textbooks which should be already in the GE. So the assumption will definitely appear there. Or maybe it is some city which is located close to a conflict zone, because you know that there is Donetsk, which is separated from Ukraine and it is not in Russia. But some people are still offering these cities. Like those universities, yes, they are working, but they are working in a conflict zone, which is dangerous for the safety of the students. Of course, it's cheaper there.
Thank you for clearing this. So at least it makes them aware and then well informed to know these are the reasons why sometimes when something is cheap, you need to do deeper research before you commit yourself. So thank you so much. So everyone, this is Svetlana. She's the CEO of Edugain Overseas, both in Russia and Ukraine, and she's partnered with lots of Ukrainian universities and Russian universities. So she makes our life very easy, so we can get all information from her instead of going individually to each university. She gives us the peace of mind that we are looking for. So once you are ready to start the process, we'll put you through, get your documents to her, and then you go through with the course. I mean, like she said, everything is embedded in the course, so there will be no hidden charges or anything. Once the offer letter is brought to you, you will see everything that you need to pay, and that will be all. So thank you so much for having time to do this with us. I'll see you again.
It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.